On air. We are live on YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
We'll be going live on the radio in a couple of minutes. And then we'll whiz through with Mayor Terry. Because I screwed up the timing completely. Obviously.
Good job there.
I know. I don't know what to say.
And you guys are in the same time zone. There's really no excuse.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know.
You're the smart one of us.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I wish I'd have told Guy 7:30, not 7:20. Oh, well. We'll see.
I moved my camera, and now I'm realizing it shows way too much of what I'm doing. Let me angle that up a little bit. So you can't, like, oh no, you can still see everything. I mean, not that I'm doing anything bad, but...
I hear you.
You know.
Alright, 30 seconds. Oh, let me send a tweet. Let peeps know that we's going live. Alright, here we go. This is us.
Wait, let me turn on my ears.
Wait, we're already on air. Wait, let me turn this on.
Okay,
no,
okay, I'm ready.
No, we're on air, we're live.
Now I'm ready.
Okay, Danielle's ready. Welcome to Tech Talk. I'm Alex, your host. Of course, Danielle is in the hangout with me. How are you, Danny?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Good. I am expecting a call at 7 from the City of Clarkston Mayor, Ted Terry, to talk about their proposed restrictions on vaping and a little conflict I think he encountered with vapers and vaping advocates. And a lot of respect for this guy, I think, because he took it head on. I mean, feisty guy on Twitter, fighting with them. Now, of course, there was that typical, left progressive tactic of, oh, now you're just trolling me and you're attacking me type of nonsense. But he stayed in it.
Were they trolling and attacking him?
Mm-hmm. They kind of were.
Yeah.
They kind of were. But we're a passionate bunch, vapers, right? That's what we do. We get passionate about it.
Right.
So hopefully he'll be calling in soon.
And you have a lot to lose.
Yeah, well, we do. Yeah, like
lot to lose
life.
Yes,
life
exactly.
and heartbeats and
the ability
things
to
like that.
Continue to not smoke. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of news. I will I guess go into this first. On Saturday at the VFW at 1 p.m. is the Rockdale County GOP forum. All of the Republican candidates will be there. I believe even Senator Isaacson will be there. I will be one of the panelists on the for the debate or the forum, I should say. It's not a debate because it's just for the GOP candidates. That's at 1 o'clock. I'll be posting a link to a survey that's being posted online so people can submit questions. For people to submit questions for us to ask the candidates. I'll post that link later. Just keep an eye out for it. If you have questions for any of the candidates, just fill in the form. I believe it's anonymous. You don't even have to put your name on there if you don't want to. There will be questions for our congressional Senate seat, our congressman, or at least the people running against Hank Johnson will be there. our districts, 2 district senates, Rick Jeffries and Janice Van Ness, Board of Education and Board of Commissioner positions, which of course is post 1 is Thomas Chastain. So yeah, I'll post a link to that, 1 p.m. at the VFW. I need to talk to Scott about that, actually, see if they're going to have a media table there, and I guess we'll see if Scott wants to go for a little bit, just for fun over there to cover it a bit. I'm not sure. We'll see. Thursday night, there's the NCAA, no, the NAACP.
Oops.
That was weird. The NAACP debate is taking place at the... Good question. I don't know where it is, but that's at 5 o'clock, and I'm supposed to be there, so I'm not sure. Not sure how that's going to work. Anyway, I thought I'd get those out the way. I'll post some links later, and if anyone's interested, you can submit questions for the Republican candidates. So the FDA, and again, I'm hoping the mayor calls in. He may have, maybe he forgot about us. The FDA published or finalized and put up their their regulations on vaping. It's actually an expansion of their tobacco products regulations, which they finalized and actually got published to the Federal Register today. So they are set in stone, and they're a go. And they're. I had hope that the FDA were going to take here we go. Hi, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hey, Alex there?
Yeah, this is Alex.
Yes.
Is this Mayor Ted?
Hey, Alex, yes, Mayor Ted, please.
Oh, Mayor Ted? Okay. So my listeners know, this is Mayor Ted Terry of the city of Clarkston. From what I understand, the youngest mayor in the history of the city. Is that right, Mayor?
That's right, but, just in the sense of Clarkston, all the previous mayors have been old white guys in their 70s.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and that's pretty common for a town that's been around for 130 years and mostly rural for most of that time.
That's right. You caught my attention, or came to my attention, I should say, because the city proposed some additional restrictions, which would have, I believe, folded vaping into your Indoor Clean Air Act. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. The initial draft of our proposal would have included vapor products in the category of tobacco products, which would have been an extension of the DeKalb County ordinance, similar to what Decatur and Savannah have done, which is basically all indoor places, bars, adult entertainment, restaurants, everywhere.
Okay. Now, you came to my attention because you kind of ran into you ran into vapers on Twitter is what happened. And I thought it was great that you didn't back down. You stood up. You stood up for what you believed in, and you made your case. And I thought, wow, this guy's feisty. I like him. But it also got my attention because I used to live in Clarkston. Well, just outside, I lived on at Cedar Creek, I think it was called. I can't remember now. Yeah, Cedar Creek Apartments on Valley Brook Road. And I'm
around the corner.
Yeah, and I'm also a vapor, so I was very interested in this, and I noticed I came into it late, and I saw the conversation had sort of changed. And tell me, if you would, what changes have you made now to the proposal, if it has changed? Because it seems like you may have looked into some more research and possibly had a slight change of heart.
Yeah, and first let me say, one of the principles I live by is kind of captured by that quote from Socrates: "The one thing that I know is that I do not know." Right. And look, I'm a politician, and politicians are to, we want to, they're there to be leaders, but also to be representatives.
Yes.
And so in order to be an effective representative, you have to actually go out and listen to people. And, the great thing about Twitter, and even though probably 99% of people who were in what I called hashtag Great Vape Debate 2016, had, they weren't in Clarkston, but still they had represented a viewpoint that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And so yeah, I think what you saw is sort of as more people sort of shared their stories. A lot of people said, I was smoking for 30 years, and when vape products came around, I was able to finally quit, and I'm so much healthier. I'm able to do, I had this one guy who's done, dozens of marathons, and, that's just I think those personal stories are just very impactful. And so, just anecdotally, research and study battles aside, I think what that showed to me is that there are a significant portion of the population that really does see vaping as a way to smoking cessation and to living a healthier life. And so while we haven't technically changed anything in the ordinance yet, and that's just because the chair of our committee had a death in the family, and he's basically had to take care of that family situation for the past 2 weeks. So we haven't had a chance to come back together as a public safety committee. But what I've recommended to the council since that public meeting where the vapor community came out and the public health community came out is to basically take what the Royal College of Physicians, the group in Britain, has said in their 2014 and 2016 studies. One, they feel that vapor products should begin to be considered as an alternative and a tool for smoking cessation. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pretty important finding. But also just and they said that they did say that it still needs to be regulated, but not regulated the same as tobacco products.
Yeah.
And so basically what they laid out is a tiered regulatory system.
Yeah. Now,
and so that's what I'm looking at right now is how can we actually, take a public health approach, but at the same time make sure that we're not, putting vapor, users next to actual smokers, because that's a real problem.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant that you have that you've looked at this and learned about it and realized that vaping. I believe vaping, in my opinion, I'm going to over exaggerate, but I consider it a public health miracle. I think it has the potential to eradicate smoking, eradicate tobacco-related disease, and be one of the biggest boons to public health that we've ever seen. But we're vapers, and we're a passionate bunch. Obviously, as a lawmaker, you have to look at it from a different perspective. You have to look at it also from the perspective of non-vapers. And I think the vaping community, as passionate as we are, we do understand that, and we agree there needs to be some regulation. We fully agree on a labeling requirement at the federal level and a ban on sale to minors. But I would hate to see, for example, my local bar told you can no longer allow vapors in your premises. I would like to see them be able to make that decision.
Yeah, and actually, and that's my recommendations to the council. And here's the sort of the somewhat unfortunate reality in Clarkston. We are a council manager form of government. The mayor, position does not vote except to break a tie, and is sort of seen as the chairman of the council, is there to participate, but at the end of the day, legislation, amendments, all have to be done by the council. So, I'm kind of like, I see myself as sort of like the arbiter between the council members and sort of what the different ideas are. And so based on my feedback from the vapor community and from the public health community, I think, here's what I recommend. I'll just lay it out for you. So in the situation of like adult entertainment bars where no one under 18, or I guess 21, I can't remember the distinction, but basically where there's like, no one underage allowed. Mm-hmm. I have recommended that, obviously we would ban, any tobacco smoke in those situations.
Of course.
However, allow for vapor products to be used in those establishments. So, that would be an exempt, business use, right?
Yes.
The issue that we got into a little bit on Twitter, which I think some people kind of saw my way, other people still were on the principle of the matter, is on the restaurants. and the buffer zone and like sort of the outdoor seating. And so what I've recommended as an option for the council to consider, and this is sort of me trying to find a win-win solution, is for there to be a 30-foot buffer. So basically, anyone who wants to smoke cigarettes, right, or other tobacco products, they have to go outside, but they have to go 30 feet away from the entrance of the building. Okay. And obviously, they also wouldn't be allowed on like the patio seating if that was a situation. Vapor users also in a restaurant situation would not be allowed to vape indoors. However, they could go, just directly outdoors, or they could sit on in a patio seating or a deck or something that sort of is ventilated, right? So it's a little bit, obviously, it's a little clearer in terms of, sort of the ventilation. And then for anyone having a vape shop, and we don't have any vape shops in Clarkston, but, maybe one day we will. I don't know. I think we had some business owners who said, look, I'm employing 30 people at my shop, and they need to be able to test the products. And so I think, obviously, if it's a vapor shop and they need to test the product out, then we should allow that too. Like, that shouldn't be a concern. Anyone, obviously, who's in there is going in there, of the free will and their free mind.
Yeah, and so a lot of the shops, their samples are zero nicotine anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. And, we were talking about this idea of, well, you can't, let's allow vaping indoors anywhere if it's zero nicotine. But then they kind of brought up, well, you can't tell. Like, there's no, unless there's like a label on it.
There is no way of telling. I'll probably annoy a few vapors here. I don't vape in restaurants. I generally try not to vape anywhere that smoking is prohibited. Primarily, though, because I don't want it to become an issue like this. Do you see what I'm? Do you see what I mean? The more.
Oh no! I had some people tell me like outright, "Good for you for getting them all those vapors out of there because they're always blowing it." With my kids at the table. That was like one or two people, but obviously there are people out there who have strong feelings about it.
Right, and of course you have to consider everybody. You can't just consider one group of vapors. You have to consider us all, or consider all of the citizens in your city. So I get that. Of course, there are some people that just want to be able to vape everywhere because, we know it's 95% safer at least than smoking, but there's also that I don't know. To me, I feel awkward when I'm vaping in a restaurant or in a public place. If you get my point. So I don't know that you would see much opposition to the proposals you now have. I do love to, if I'm drinking a beer, I love to have a vape. Right?
I understand.
It raises a question, though. Let's say you let vapors step outside and you just stay within reach of the door. There are places like Starbucks who don't allow vaping even on their patio. Are you then putting Starbucks in a position where they have to allow vaping on their patio?
I think the way the past ordinances have been written have left it up to, basically they're just saying the government's not going to regulate that instance. And so yeah, I think the situation, and this is probably something, I know this is something that was written into like the DeKalb County ordinance, like for where they exempted bars and like strip clubs. It's up to the owner to decide their policy. And so I think that situation would still apply. Starbucks has control over their property, and they can decide the rules. They can go far. Basically, there's no. I think the term is there's no ceiling on the regulation that private entities can choose to enforce on their own as private property owners. So I think that's a good point. And this is where we I think the folks you were mentioning earlier, there is a group of people out there who are just libertarian minded, who are look, don't let the government, just shouldn't be involved in any of this stuff, and that's where I was trying to kind of get to the win-win solution, because I feel like that there's enough evidence to show sort of the effectiveness in terms of massive, like large macro scale, in reducing certain behaviors, but we don't, at the same time, we don't want to create an undue burden on someone who is genuinely trying to quit smoking cigarettes or other tobacco products and move to something that is very apparently I don't want to say healthier, but certainly less dangerous and toxic, such as the vapor products.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And that's just, I mean, another thing that I want to stress too is, Clarkston's a small town. We kind of consider ourselves to be a little more nimble. And so whereas you might get like a Congress, or a state legislature or a big city like Atlanta, they're not going to go back and forth year to year and change the policies. But I think the virtue of being in a small town is we get to just have a little more local control and think, hey, what's the best thing for our town? And if it looks like some policies aren't working, it's not like a huge burden for us to tweak our own policies. We don't have like 7-hour council meetings. We probably have 2-hour council meetings.
Right.
And, so I feel like that, as cities and I think states go as laboratories of democracy, we really should embrace this principle that let's stop arguing about like more government or less government. Let's just talk about effective government and be open-minded. Try to create policies that are evidence-based and less on ideology. I think that we can find our happy medium to a government that we know has to exist by virtue of us being a democracy. That's how the process works. But a government that isn't overly oppressive of individual rights while still safeguarding sort of the larger public health. And that's that kind of the challenge as policymakers. We have to sort of find something that's going to work for as many people as possible, and still have those principles in mind.
I think that's a wonderful way to govern. To be honest, you said you're quoted by Fox as saying you were looking for a win-win option, and I think you've probably come up with one. And I wish more lawmakers could look at this issue that way. We're coming up on a break here, and I know you have a meeting to get to, and I was going to, first of all, real quick, decriminalizing marijuana possession under 1 ounce. I'm right there with you. I think the war on drugs has been an absolute failure, and I think it's a good move, so good for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to just clarify that real quick because, that unfortunately a lot of folks in the media had taken the decriminalization term and kind of run with it. What we're talking about is not decriminalization, but it's deprioritization. And just to give you just a very clear example, in Clarkston right now, if you get caught with possession of 1 ounce of marijuana or less, you will get a minimum of $660 ticket, potentially more, up to a $1,000 fine. We are talking about changing the punishment level from being that high to lower, under $100, probably even lower than that. But then also having a public health component to that, where someone, if they do get this offense, they would have to take a 3-hour marijuana awareness education program, which is, again, a public health approach meant to make people more aware of, issues, health-related, and, larger public impact, to just try to divert risky behavior. And so there's cities and counties all over the state, I guarantee you, that are already, doing ticket-only offense is what the term is called, but they're just making money off of people, typically low-income people of color. And I don't know if you saw that study recently, about half of Americans would have trouble coming up with $400 to pay for an emergency room visit. And so just take that, extrapolate it into some of these
Guy? Hello. Guy, can I ask you to hold on for 1 second, sir?
Yes, no problem at all.
Thank you.
These issues, instead of looking at these fines as revenue generators. Maybe it helps keep the property taxes down for some cities, but the blowback in the long term, I think, is much more destructive to the community at large. And so we're just talking about changing the policy because the current policy over the past 35 years obviously is not working.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great policy change. Well, Mayor, I really appreciate you calling in and for clarifying this. And I hope everything works out for you there, and of course for the vapors and for all the other citizens. But it sounds like you're doing a good, reasonable job, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Mayor Terry.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So sorry about that, Guy. That call ran over. On the phone now, I have Guy Bentley, who is a Washington reporter for the Daily Caller. Thanks for calling in, Guy. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. The reason I reached out to you is because you've been covering vaping and these FDA regulations, and I noticed your stories have been gaining a lot of traction.
Thank you. Yes, I've been trying as best as I can to cover the depth and the scope of the FDA's regulations, particularly as it pertains to e-cigarettes and the impact that it will have on both vaping industries, on vapers themselves, consumers of the products, and generally those people who care about tobacco harm reduction. And so I think a lot of the stories have gained a lot of traction because there's a lot of misinformation, both in the media and from many government agencies, both about the impact of regulations, specifically the FDA regulations, and also about the harms associated with e-cigarettes and vapor products themselves.
Yeah. I've been watching what's been going on in England for a number of years now. First, it was they went for medicinal regulations, which I believe got beaten down. Then the EU came up with their TPD regulations. How do you think these FDA regs compare to the regulations under the TPD? Strikes me they're an awful lot harsher here.
I think that assumption is totally correct. The FDA regulations differ dramatically in scope from what we see in the European Union. In the European Union, we see, with the Tobacco Products Directive, a very unfortunate decision to impose a lot of extra burdens on e-cigarettes and e-cigarette businesses in terms of the type of e-cigarettes you can sell and many other restrictive regulations which will hamper industry growth, hamper innovation. But the FDA regulations, which passed, I believe, on Thursday, or at least were announced on Thursday, they actually go into effect today. They're put on the Federal Register. Mm-hmm. These regulations are a whole order of magnitude worse than the kind of regulations we see in Europe. If these regulations go into effect as is, as in unchanged, they will be an utter catastrophe for e-cigarette businesses, for vapers, and for public health.
Yeah, I'm a vapor personally. I've been vaping now since 2010, I believe. So I'm one of the biggest advocates of the thing, and it's almost like the U.S. government has completely ignored the science that goes along with these devices. An awful lot of studies have been done in Europe. Dr. Farsalinos, for example, in Greece. They've studied these to death. The Royal College of Physicians says that it's unlikely they even have the same risk of 5% as smoke and tobacco. Public Health England have said they're 95% safer than smoking. Both of those organizations recommend their use to smokers, or recommend that they should be used by smokers. Why the disconnect here? Is it money?
I think money is definitely a part of that, but it's a very complex picture we're looking at with lots of different parts. I think in the United States there has been an obstinance to so many public health organizations, or at least organizations that purport to support the public health. So, for instance, like the American Lung Society, Tobacco-Free Kids, lots of other organizations, and many institutes and researchers as well, are putting out misinformation about the risks of e-cigarettes. Some have even tried to equate the risks of e-cigarettes with regular combustible tobacco cigarettes. Now, any serious researcher and scientist that has looked at this issue says that is categorically false. All the respectable evidence we have on this issue are that these products are hugely safer than their tobacco combustible cigarettes. Now, in the United States, it does seem that the public health community has been resistant, to say the least, to these products. There are, however, some advocates and champions of e-cigarettes, such as Dr. Michael Siegel from Boston Department of Human Sciences and Health, and many others who have come out and said these are categorically better than cigarettes, their use should not be restricted, and regulations banning them or taxing them to prohibitive levels should not be introduced. I think there's a major problem here in that there are interests who really want e-cigarettes to be restricted. One, of course, is the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry, which manufactures products such as Nicorette gum, nicotine patches, and so on, which have dismal failure rates, really don't want to see their share of the market decrease to competitors such as e-cigarettes. Some tobacco companies that haven't been as quick to adopt to e-cigarettes and vaping revolution also have an interest in restricting the growth of e-cigarettes. So there's lots of different players here, which unfortunately are restricting the growth of this product.
Yeah, and some of those quit smoking drugs have a very high suicide rate that go along with them as well. But well, that's for another day.
Exactly. Yes.
So you mentioned Michael Siegel. How much attention? Now, it seems that the public health community pays more attention to somebody like Stanton Glantz, who's not even a medical doctor. I believe he's a mechanical engineer, and yet he is leading tobacco harm policy at the University of San Francisco, I believe. And it seems like the FDA and the government are listening to him a lot more than they're listening to the likes of Michael Siegel. Why would that be? Why listen to a engineer over a doctor?
Well, I think there's definitely a disconnection of federal regulators with the reality on the ground and the science actually behind e-cigarettes. I wouldn't necessarily say that Stanton Glantz has more pull than other doctors or medical professionals who have explored and researched on this topic and written about it extensively. I would say that the FDA has an interest in controlling this market, in that the FDA is an incredibly overcautious institution. It's very bad at recognizing when a new product is doing good rather than harm and weighing up the relative risks of harms. So while e-cigarettes, nobody is claiming e-cigarettes are 100% safe, and no e-cigarette advocate or researcher is saying that. But what they are saying is that these products are 95% less harmful than tobacco combustible cigarettes. Now, if a smoker is looking to quit and they've tried everything else, the Nicorette patches, the gums, the Chantix, the inhalers, all the rest of it, and they find the e-cigarette is helping them, then of course there's a little bit of risk, but you've got to weigh it against the huge risk of them smoking. So I would say the FDA isn't looking into the real science on this topic. It's not regarding the full body of evidence, but also I believe the FDA sees it within its interest to, rather than propose sensible regulations, such as restricting the products to minors and so on, which actually 48 states already did before the FDA deeming regulations came in, that instead of those sensible regulations, they're going far and beyond this, and they're actually trying to control the market after being oblivious to its rise in existence for several years.
Now, the regulations they've proposed, you're right, they go far and beyond anything, even compared to tobacco cigarettes. Electronic cigarettes are going to be regulated far more stringently. If the information I've been reading lately is correct, it's going to require clinical trials for the liquids. Some of the public health comparisons they're asking for really are going to require a population level clinical study of these things on a per liquid basis.
Exactly, and that's one of the big problems with these new FDA regulations, in that each single e-cigarette product that has been released after February 2007, I believe it was February 15th, 2007, will have to undergo one of these pre-market tobacco application processes. Now, these processes can cost several $1 million per product and take around 1,700 hours or more of paperwork. Now, almost no e-cigarette, vaping, or many other businesses are going to be able to comply with that. The only organizations that are going to be able to withstand those kind of regulations are major tobacco companies with big pockets.
Yeah, it's going to hand the market effectively to big tobacco. Reynolds with their Views, which, by the way, I do think the Views is the #1 selling electronic cigarette in the country right now, which came as a shock to me. Yeah,
I think it's definitely part of the cigar-like products rather than the vaping mods, which the vaping mods are what listeners might see it, those devices that are sort of handheld. They look a little bit clunky. Those are more largely mod products. The cigar-like products are the products that essentially have the same shape and character of a cigarette, but deliver a vapor rather than tobacco. And the advantage that a lot of consumers like about the cigar-like products is that they have is that they're usually quite low price, so they're very accessible.
Yeah, whereas I like the more customizable mods personally, because that's what got me to quit smoking entirely. And speaking of the mods themselves, the FDA have claimed purview over hardware also. So does that mean that, for example, a shop or a manufacturer will have to apply for PMTA for a battery, for example?
I'm not sure about the battery, for instance, but I believe if listeners would like to look up Jared Meyer from the Manhattan Institute, who's a public policy researcher there, who has gone into this issue excellently, has lined out which kinds of products will be subject to this regulation. I'd also recommend Jeff Steer, who's done fantastic work on this product on this policy. But yes, essentially, so many e-cigarette and vape products, or parts of e-cigarette and vape products, will need to be approved and need to go through several regulatory hurdles. So the big problem with that is not only the cost to e-cigarette businesses, to vapers from the products that they might lose, it's that we're going to see a huge stifling of innovation. The e-cigarette industry has been through an absolute renaissance over the last several years, and e-cigarette businesses and manufacturers have an incentive to make their product as safe as possible because they want smokers to switch to a safer alternative. So what the FDA's regulations are going to do, and this has been borne out and predicted by analysts at Wells Fargo, at many other financial houses and institutions, which have said these regulations are going to stifle innovation in the e-cigarette space, only to the tune of big tobacco companies. So let's not be surprised if the share prices and stock prices of cigarette companies begin to rise as these regulations hit the e-cigarette market.
And we know that if the market is left up to the tobacco companies, that the safest devices will be taken off the market. For example, I remember what I used back in 2010, which was a unregulated stick battery with a cartomizer. I'm now using a device that's power regulated for safety. It's temperature regulated to make sure that I don't exceed a certain threshold and start producing, carcinogens. These will be gone. And will be left purely with the unregulated, fixed voltage, easy to burn, easy to dry hit tobacco company products. They will not innovate in this space. They're just going to go with what they have.
I think what the tobacco companies will do will be very interesting, because some may see it as the way of the future, as part and to replace a pool of profits from people in more developed countries getting off regular cigarettes. They might see advanced types of e-cigarettes as a replacement, but that's very much in the air at the moment as to how tobacco companies will react to this, whether they will continue to invest in vaping technology, whether they'll try and replicate some of the successes that smaller and independent businesses will have, or whether they will essentially rely on their old products for profits. But definitely one of the points you highlight, which I think is incredibly important, is that what will happen with these FDA regulations if they go in just as they're written now, and if there's no alteration, there will be a blooming black market in these products, as we have seen with any other type of prohibition. The FDA's own analysis from 2014 said that 99% of e-cigarette and vapor products wouldn't apply or wouldn't go through the PMTA process. So what that means for vapors and for e-cigarette businesses and for people listening to this is that almost none of the e-cigarette and vaping products you see today will exist in 2 years' time. They will be off the shelves. They will be eliminated. If you're a smoker and you thought you wanted to try an e-cigarette, if nothing else worked, and you thought this might be for you, you won't have that option anymore. The government will have taken it away. 99% of these products will be banned, and of course, what that will mean, and this has already started to happen, as many vaping blogs and vaping community sites have already said, is that people are going to be buying their own nicotine liquid from China. They're going to be mixing their own e-liquid, and people are going to innovate around this. Prohibition has never worked. It didn't work with alcohol. It didn't work with anything else. And unfortunately, the FDA has decided not to prohibit a product that is doing huge damage to the population. They've decided to essentially prohibit, within this, in 2 years' time, a product that is getting people off smoking, that is making people healthier because they're substituting their cigarette use for vaping. Now, as we said earlier, vaping is not 100% safe, but it is far safer than smoking. So the FDA, in its wisdom, has decided to essentially introduce regulations that are going to prohibit an industry that is creating jobs, creating businesses, helping people quit smoking. Now, I would have thought in a normal situation in life, creating businesses, creating jobs, and making money helping people quit smoking would have been a win-win, but not according to the FDA, and that's the real tragedy of these regulations.
Yeah, it is tragic. I mean, if we found a way to eliminate 95% of birth defects, we would jump all over it. We would
be all over it.
Yeah, we've found a way that has the potential to eradicate tobacco-related disease, and they're ignoring all the science and going in completely the wrong direction, in my opinion. I probably need your reaction on my part, but I actually ordered nicotine Friday. I ordered enough. I ordered enough that I can mix 10 gallons of e-liquid if I need to at some point.
I think you and many others did the exact same thing as when these regulations came out.
Yeah, and the potential risks there are much, much higher than having a good open free market of vape shops that are there to help people and get them off of. It's always kind of bothered me that a vape shop can't make the cessation claim. Hey, we can help you quit smoking. I know the FDA doesn't like that. That's always kind of bothered me. But that's what they're there for. And the FDA is eliminating that entirely. And I think it's an absolute disaster for public health. So the big question, what can we do? And what do you think there's any chance that the lawsuits that are being filed could overturn this?
I can't speak exactly to the lawsuits and the legal issues. That will definitely be somebody with more legal expertise than mine to determine the legitimacy of lawsuits against these regulations. To be absolutely honest, from where I stand, the laws and the FDA's regulations appear to be legally sound, but no doubt there will be others who know better than I whether that is absolutely true. But I would say to vapers, to people who believe in free competition and who believe that the government should not be regulating the decisions about how people quit smoking, let alone smoking. You know, we're not even talking about freedom to smoke. We're talking about freedom to quit smoking.
Right.
If I mean, who would have thought that back in the days of the tobacco wars of the 1990s, when people were arguing, you know, you should be able to smoke, and we need less tobacco taxes and all the rest of it, that in 2016 we would be arguing against the government saying, please allow me the right to quit smoking with this product. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a topsy-turvy world, but I would say to anybody who's interested in the subject, do get involved. Write to your congressmen and senators. Tell them about this. Tell them that this is a product that is helping people quit or helping you quit, or that you have a business that's going to be closed, or you're an employee who's going to lose his job. Because, unfortunately, I do work in that cesspool that is...
Are you there, Guy?
Actually, the conference in Williamsburg, but so thankfully I've escaped it for 2 days. But I will tell you something, and it is what congressional staffers say. Almost nobody writes to congressmen and senators. They actually get very few letters, and they read them. And they take account of what you say. So don't think it's a waste of your time or anything. It will count for something. If there's visible demonstration that there is a community or large amounts of people who are going to be harmed by these regulations, then politicians will take notice of this. And if they don't, punish them, and punish them with your vote, and punish them with, if anybody makes any campaign contributions, punish them with that. And there is, I have to say, there was an amendment that was passed very recently, the Cole-Bishop Amendment, which would amend the worst part of the FDA's regulation, which is called the predicate date, which is the date where after February 15th, 2007, all e-cigarette and vapor products have to go through this huge process that almost none of them will be able to go through. And it would amend that process and make sure that all e-cigarette products on the market today would not have to go through that. Of course, they'd still be regulated by the FDA. It's one of the false claims by the FDA that they say, oh, if we change the predicate date, they won't be regulated. All these products will be regulated. There will be age restrictions. So nobody has to worry about any sort of fear on that front. E-cigarettes and e-liquids will be regulated. They just won't be prohibited. They just won't be banned. Yeah. And I think that's the point we need to really push home to people.
I believe that's House Resolution 2058. Is that correct?
That's correct.
To move the predicate date. I wrote my congressman about that, Hank Johnson, and the reply I got from him began with, this is a bill to deregulate electronic cigarettes. And that immediately put me in the wrong state of mind. So I tried replying to his email, which doesn't go anywhere, just directed me back to his site. So I went back to the site and I replied to him and I said, you know, Congressman, with all due respect, this doesn't remove the FDA's right to regulate anything. They still have the same regulatory power.
Exactly.
But that was a very misleading answer from my congressman. Now, luckily, I'll be hosting a debate here this weekend, and I'll be talking to my senators and congressmen about this. And I'm
excellent. I wish you the best of luck in trying to educate them on a lot of these issues, because I mean there are a lot of open-minded congressmen and senators who actually they simply don't know about this issue, who really. Honestly, they, in all honesty and in all conscience, don't actually know either side and are totally swayable.
I agree. We had, before you called in, I had Mayor Ted Terry from the city of Clarkston they proposed additional restrictions on vaping in his city, and he after he came head to head on Twitter with some vapers, he went and actually did the research and looked at the evidence, and I believe have come up with a very good compromise for the city of Clarkston. So, yeah,
Wonderful!
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I've found that legislators are very open once they get the facts and the information that they need.
Indeed.
I know.
Indeed.
I've had my senator on the show, and I've had my commissioners on the show, and I always use that opportunity to talk about vaping and how it's helped me and helped my friends and helped family, and they always like to listen. So I have to echo what you said.
Millions of people will live longer if they want to by switching to these products. And I personally, I mean, if people wish to continue smoking combustible cigarettes and smoking real cigarettes, I believe they absolutely have the right to. But I also believe that there is a huge potential for that part of the smoking population who wants to quit, have tried everything else and find it way too difficult. They can quit with these products, and it will be a disaster and really terrible for them if the government ruins it. This was a total revolution born out of entrepreneurship and enterprise, and the way that we've managed to create a profit incentive to make it enjoyable to quit smoking is something quite remarkable, and I don't think that people should sneer at that.
I agree. I think beyond the shadow of any doubt, anybody with the right device can quit smoking using an electronic cigarette. I'm allowed to make that claim, and I try to recommend it to as many people as I can. Guy, thank you so much for taking your time away from the conference and calling in. It's been very informative. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Tell people.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Let people know where they can find you.
Sure, no problem. I write at the Daily Caller News Foundation, and you can find me on Twitter at gbentley1.
Brilliant. That's fantastic, Guy. Thank you so much. We're going to head to a break now, but you're welcome back anytime. If any new news comes up, if anything breaks, I would love to have you back on the show. I sure appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Nice guy, huh?
Dude, he was awesome.
Yeah, the timing, I had to, you saw I jumped over to the phone call.
That was great.
And so I missed a little of what Mayor Terry was saying, which was a shame. I like Mayor Terry.
Yeah.
I do. I think a very reasonable man. I think anybody that can look at an issue open-mindedly and try to find that balance. Obviously, he can't just kowtow to vapers and give them everything they want. Right. He has to consider everybody in his city. I believe that's what he's doing, and I wish all lawmakers could look at this issue that way. Because it's true. Once they learn the facts behind these devices, every one of them that I've ever come across has said, well, why would we want to stifle that? Why would we ever want to ban that?
Well, it's
anyway,
just for Mayor. Sorry, go ahead. Go to break.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we need to break.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's take a break because we've skipped right through two of them. Yeah. And when we come back, I'm going to continue on about the regulations.
Yes.
And then we'll jump into some tech. We'll be back in a few minutes. Zone. All right, I got to go take a leak.
Okay. Well, you go on ahead and do that. Talking to myself.
They were two very excellent public speakers.
Yes. Yeah, that was really good. Super good.
Yeah. Very pleased to have that one. What were you going to say, or should it wait until we go back on air?
I forgot. It was about Mayor Terry.
And I'll tell you, Guy Bentley's written work just as good.
Yeah.
His articles are really good.
Yeah, I was gonna read some of his articles and then just got sucked into other stuff. There's exceptionally good stuff on that website.
Yeah, I like
Really
the Daily
good
Caller.
stuff,
I've followed it. I want to say it launched maybe in 2012.
Okay.
And I've been following it for a while. Daily Signal as well. I follow them. They're along the same vein.
Yeah, really good. Do you want to rant at all about, I don't know if we've already talked about it and worn it out, about Facebook news filtering, like Facebook filtering what news?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I haven't read that much on it. I know Steven Crowder filed a lawsuit. Well, not a lawsuit. He filed an injunction or a motion for discovery today.
Okay.
Because he has been one of the conservative journalists that he believes is being censored on Facebook, and he's a paying customer. He pays them for his posts, and he believes they're still removing his stuff or censoring it from the trending section.
Did I send you the link to, or did you see about the Senate committee today?
Yes, but I haven't read the link.
There is the gist is there's a Senate committee looking into whether or not Facebook, first of all, whether or not they are filtering. So they want to know about the news curation methods and how Facebook handles challenges. So that's going, like, that started today. And there was an article, let me see if I can find it. The headline was, Facebook refuses to deny that it blacklisted conservatives.
Yeah, I did see that.
Deny. I thought that was
I did see that.
interesting.
Well, they didn't deny it. Here's what he said. He said our staff have no instruction to do that. They've not been given instructions to tamper with trending topics.
Well, so if you hire liberals,
Yeah, exactly. I do believe it's happening, and because they did not give what I didn't perceive as an outright denial,
Right.
I think it actually is happening.
Yeah.
But Facebook management can't say definitively it doesn't happen. All they can say is it's not our policy.
right, we did not give the instruction to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, Steven Crowder filed a motion against them today. What he comes up with, I'm not sure, because let's assume it is just a rogue employee or a number of rogue employees. That's awful difficult to prove.
Right. We can talk about the drone racing. You can talk about drone hunting.
Drone
What is
hunting.
that? Like, are they really shooting at the drones, or are the drones like toting targets that they're shooting at? What are they doing?
In the video I sent you, they're shooting. They're seeing if it's possible to shoot down a drone, but they're using those really good immersion RC racing drones. Mm-hmm. And these are SWAT guys. These are professional LAPD SWAT guys trying to shoot these racing drones out of the sky.
Okay.
They eventually get one. It takes a few hundred rounds, but they do get one or two.
I want to watch that whole video, but of course, I was in the middle of trying to collect information for the show, so I finally had to stop watching and get back to work.
The cops went into it thinking, "Oh man, piece of cake," because they're picturing a drone like mine, right? Quite a large device that moves pretty slowly and can't turn very quickly. No, they came face to face with immersion RC racing drones that do like 70 miles an hour can flip around in no time, and
Right.
and they said that's the police were like, that's not what we were expecting.
That was funny, yeah.
It's funny.
Oh, and the drone racers started twitching when they were shooting. Oh my gosh. That was a little bit painful to watch. The guy's like, all I hear is shots. And then he like wrecked his drone. He's like, no, I'm sure he didn't hit me. He's like, I just crashed. I just lost it.
Yeah, no, I just crashed.
That was funny.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Kurt confiscated one of my old phones today.
For himself to use?
For work, yeah.
Oh, I thought he just ordered a bunch of iPhone. Oh, they haven't come in yet.
No, they're like a month out.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's right. Huge demand for that iPhone SE.
yeah. So he called me. Well, we were talking anyway. He's like, well, do you have an old phone? I was like, what do you mean? And of course he knows the answer, like, so I can't just say no.
That's
like, what
right.
do you mean?
That's right.
He's like, do you have an old Verizon phone? I was like, well, what? I don't understand what you're asking me.
He should have asked you if you have a new iPad.
Well, right? Well, the whole time I'm like,
We're 10 seconds out.
Okay. But I'm like digging through my head thinking, what can I get away with here?
Yeah.
Like, what does he think the conditions of my phones are?
All right, we're going back now.
Go.
I'll give him a few seconds of bumper music. All right, we're back. So yeah, I think two very good public speakers there. Mayor Ted Terry and Guy Bentley of the Daily Caller. I
they're
highly recommend, by the way, looking up Guy on the Daily Caller and reading some of his articles, because they are remarkably well written.
Yeah, he is well spoken. I would not be surprised if he writes well.
Yeah, extremely well spoken. You know what? I hope I get Guy back on the show another time as these fights progress, because I do think this is going to turn into quite a fight.
Yes.
A company named Halo. Okay, I don't want to say the name until I actually look this up. I was going to say Halo Sigs, but I don't believe it was. A company today filed suit against the FDA in Washington. They are, opposing these regulations.
Right.
I know that Kazaa, who are they're the consumer advocacy group. They represent the consumers, and SFATA, who represent the industry players themselves. I know that they are preparing a legal defense as we speak, which I think is going to be probably our best chance. I think they'll have the best lawyers and the best scientific, the best, special, what do they call those, expert witnesses?
Right, yes.
I think they'll have all those in place, and they'll have all their ducks in a row. I know that they'll be able to get probably Dr. Farsalinos over from Greece. They'll be able to get Clive Bates over from England. They'll have Guy made mention of the public health groups like Tobacco Free Kids and the American Cancer Association.
Yes.
And I meant to ask him, but we were running short on time there. I meant to ask him about their counterparts in the UK, because Clive Bates used to head up a group called, I can't remember the name, but it was effectively their anti-tobacco group. Right, they're not an official government group, I don't think. Oh, ACT. It was called ACT. Whatever it was. Anyway, whatever. Clive headed up that organization that was trying to effectively get rid of tobacco. Now, Clive is a private citizen now, I believe, or he runs his own company. But the organization that he used to head up, ACT, I'm sure that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
They started out very anti-electronic cigarette. They saw it as, another nicotine plague, and they were making the correlation between nicotine and tobacco, and that whole war on nicotine, which is so stupid. Well, they've done a complete 180.
Are you talking about the World Health Organization?
No, it's not who are still opposed to
Right.
who are still opposed to electronic cigarettes.
Are they
I'm
really?
looking it up. Oh yeah, they hate them. So anyway, ACT. I'm sure that I'm looking it up. ACT have completely done a 180 on electronic cigarettes, and now they are saying they need to be recommended to vapers. You've got the Royal College of Physicians that say they need to be recommended to vapers. You have Public Health England, part of the National Health Service, that are saying they need to be recommended to smokers, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
What I still haven't heard is anyone call for a ban completely on tobacco. Now, I'm kind of with Guy on this. I'm a bit more libertarian. I think if you choose to smoke, then you choose to smoke. I do believe you should take on the health risks yourself, and that it should never cost the taxpayer money to pay for any treatment should you need it. But I believe if you want to smoke, you have that choice, you have that right. But I believe that your right to vape should never, ever be trampled on by a government. This could be such a boon and such a miracle to public health that any overstep by the government will cost lives. It's going to kill people. When you put in place regulations like this, you create the perception among people that vaping is as bad, if not worse, than tobacco. And I think that's the worst message we could possibly send to smokers.
I agree. Alex, I don't know if we talked about this. We probably did, because this is such a soapbox for me. But this, to me, is reminiscent of the pseudoscience that went along with the scares about vaccination and vaccinating kids, and the idea that vaccination caused autism, which is absolute and utter horse shit. Vaccination does not cause autism. There was never science to suggest that vaccination caused autism, but it was pseudoscience, and somebody got a hold of it, and then Hollywood got a hold of it and blew it completely out of proportion, and millions, probably not millions, but tens to hundreds of thousands of children were affected by not being vaccinated because parents were scared, because they believed the pseudoscience instead of actually understanding what was actually going on. And that's kind of the same thing that's going on now. It's people believing the pretend science.
There's such an emotional response to electronic cigarettes from the left.
Yeah.
They see somebody vaping and they're like immediately, oh, well, that's smoking. And it's such a weird, I don't get it. I don't understand it. People that are supposed to be leaders in the public health community, the American Cancer Association, the American Lung Association, people that are supposed to lead in this arena are listening to bogus science and guiding the government into making the worst decisions possible. And I just don't get it. It baffles my imagination. I don't understand how it can happen.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked about, I don't know if you remember that there are strong regulations against vaping here in Duluth, Minnesota, where I live. After we talked about it, I can't remember which guests it was that were on the show that got me wondering because I don't vape, so I don't know what the rules here, didn't know what the rules here were. So I went back and read what they were, and then read how they got passed. And the argument they made that I think people really bought into was that acceptance of vaping would lead to renormalization of smoking tobacco in society. So, you know, people would get used to seeing people vaping, and then they would accept smoking again, you know, like it was accepted back in the day.
Yeah, and the Royal College of Physicians have said they found no evidence of that whatsoever.
It's ridiculous. It's, again, pseudoscience. It's just made up. People are making up reasons. It's craziness. Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, I smoked and I quit a couple of times. I mean, and it was not easy.
All right, so here's one thing that people can do, anyone listening. You can go to CASAA.org, CASAA.org, and they have a call to action right now, which is it's an automated tool. You fill in the information, and it will send emails to your legislator or legislators asking them to co-sponsor and back H.R. 2058, which is a bill to move the predicate date for tobacco, for vapor products, to up to sometime in 2015, I believe. What this will do is allow current or devices that were on the market prior to that date. So let's say it's April 14th, 2015. It will allow anything that was on the market prior to April 14th, 2015 to remain on the market and not have to go through the FDA's PMTA process, which will, as Guy was saying, and as I've said before, the PMTA process just for a single product will cost in excess of $1 million. And there are thousands and thousands of products that would have to go through this. And by the way, Mitch Zeller today, the head of the FDA, came out and said, even if they go through the process, I can't tell you that any one of them will ever be approved. He's already made up his mind. They're not going. I don't believe they're going to approve anything unless it comes from a freaking tobacco company. So anyway, you can go to CASAA.org. You can use the form, which will send an email to your lawmakers asking them to co-sponsor and support H.R. 2058 to move that date. If we don't do that, then in 2 years' time, the predicate date right now is 2007, and there was really nothing on the market in 2007 that was worthwhile to use. I started vaping, I want to say, in 2010, and the technology back then, compared to what we have today, is archaic. So if you go all the way back to 2007, it takes everything that is currently on the market will be taken off the market. I don't even know that a cig-alike would meet the 2007 predicate date. I suppose it's possible there was something on the market back there. Mitch Zeller says he knows of possibly one thing that was on the market that would meet a substantial equivalency criteria for 2007. Their goal is to end this market entirely, which will just drive people to the black market. People will start ordering from China. They'll order their own nicotine, which, by the way, can be extremely dangerous. If you order pure nicotine, say 100% pure nicotine, that stuff can be lethal. And if you're not really careful, you can cause a lot of damage with it. And this is the kind of market the FDA is guaranteeing is going to take over if they shut down all these vape shops and all these juice manufacturers. I'm not sure. I don't know. I hope that one of these lawsuits works. But, you know, Guy said from a cursory reading, he thinks that the government's legal standing is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was scary to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, purview over hardware or batteries and tanks and things like that, I wouldn't be surprised if that got thrown out by the courts, because there's no way you can argue that they're derived from tobacco. Liquid, I do see them keeping, purview over liquids,
Right.
which here's what I'm hopeful of. I'm hopeful that the court, a court tells the FDA, you need to go back and rework your regulations specifically for electronic cigarettes, separate from the Tobacco Control Act, and that you need a separate set of regulations for these devices, because I'm hopeful the courts will say we obviously see a public health benefit with electronic cigarettes. Your heavy-handed approach is going to harm the public health, and you now need to go rework your regulations. I don't know what's going to happen, obviously. What a mess. And in the meantime, I've ordered some nicotine. And I do believe that vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol will always be readily available, as they are food additive products. I can get flavoring pretty much anywhere. I can use the flavoring at the grocery store to flavor my liquid. But I also ordered some menthol crystals so that I can make my own menthol flavoring. I ordered I think a 60-gram bag of menthol crystals for less than $10, and that should be enough menthol to last me the rest of my life.
Do you do menthol? I didn't think you did menthol.
I do not, but it's a very quick and easy way to mix up some liquid so that I get my fix.
Okay.
Right? I take a little nicotine, some PG, some VG, couple of drops of menthol. Bob's your uncle.
Gotcha.
I'm still vaping.
So just in case you don't have your, what is it, strawberry kiwi?
Strawberry kiwi, yeah. I'm going to order some strawberry kiwi flavoring from Mount Baker for sure, just so I have it. But I ordered basically what I needed just to mix up stuff in an emergency. However, I ordered enough for like a 10-gallon emergency, which would last me about 20 years.
Yeah. And
So,
we're not all that young, so 20 years is,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing. They're creating this black market for people, and it's a crying shame. Not to mention all the people they're going to put out of work, all the manufacturers that are going to shut down. Think about Charlie. Remember Charlie, who came on the show when the GSFA were here?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, he's now a tobacco product manufacturer.
Oh my gosh.
To stay in business, he's going to have to submit a PMTA for his devices. Now, on hardware, the PMTA requirements are pretty stringent and require some kind of clinical trial. Don't know how that's going to apply to hardware. Maybe that aspect of it will not affect a hardware manufacturer, and it might be easier for them to keep their products on the market. I believe the most onerous of these regulations are going to apply primarily to the nicotine liquid, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. Listen, we have a break. When we get back, let's talk about some tech, okay?
Let's do it.
All right.
You think the liquids are what they're after, isn't it? Not the rigs?
They're after everything.
Okay. But, I mean, if they end up losing control over the batteries and the rigs, but maintain control over the liquids, they still win.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They do. They do. Here's one thing about the regulations that is interesting. I believe that you're only considered a tobacco product manufacturer if you're selling your products onto somebody else, the public. So I believe that me mixing my own liquid will actually be perfectly legal.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Because I'm just mixing it for myself.
Yeah, for private consumption, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that would. Now, where you get it from is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can order.
Affected.
Right now, it's actually quite easy to order pharmaceutical grade nicotine. Hell, I know. I just ordered some. It's on its way to me now.
Right. Where do you order it from? In the States or?
Yeah, I ordered from a company in the States. I could have ordered, now I ordered a 100 milligram per milliliter base liquid,
Okay.
which I will dilute down to 10 milligrams per milliliter to begin with, and then as I wean myself, because I'm down to 12 now. I've gone from when I started vaping, I was at 36,
Right.
then 24, then 18, now 12. I'll drop down to 10. I'll go down to 8 or 5 or something, and eventually get down to zero nick.
Right.
But it's taking time for me to do that.
Right.
It hasn't been. Some vapors do it very quickly. Some vapors start on 18 and go down to 5 or 3 almost immediately. Not sure with these vapors now. With these vapors now that are doing their cloud chasing and whatnot and using 3 milligram liquid from the get-go, I imagine it will be easier for them to wean themselves off of nicotine faster
Right.
than I have been. But I'm down to 12. I'm quite
That's
proud of
awesome.
that.
That's great.
And I do have a bunch of 18 and 24 in the freezer, but what I'll do is just dilute that with some VG when I go to use it, I'll dilute it so that it brings down the nicotine level.
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, on a completely different subject,
Yep.
I just got this nice little, can you see this? I have to move my stuff. This nice little fingernail management kit. I have to do that so I can see if you can see stuff. Can you see that? Like with a file and a clipper. Do you have these kind of things so that you don't chew on your fingernails?
I don't have them in a fancy case like that, but yes, I do have that stuff.
So
I
that
have-
you don't.
Yeah, nail clippers and a nail file and one of those little scissor things, whatever they're for.
Yeah, for your cuticles.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't ever use it for that. I use it to cut the wicks on my electronic cigarette.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's what I use that for. But I use clippers and a nail file for sure.
Okay. You don't just bite your fingernails?
Well, I don't necessarily use a nail file either. I use a small file that I got from the hardware store. So, it's quicker.
Is it real fine grit?
No, it's pretty it's pretty hardcore.
I might have to send you a kit just to make myself feel better.
I mean, it's not like a bastard file or anything like that. It's relatively fine, but it's nowhere near as fine as, say, one of those black.
Glass file, for instance?
Yeah. Well, no, nowhere near as fine as that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might just have to send you a kit just to make myself feel better. And a little oil for your cuticles.
Right.
Yeah, throw that on once a week, maybe. Just civilize you a little bit. I mean, I'm not trying to change you. I'm just saying. Because if I can use an iPhone, you can stop using a hardware store file on your fingernails. I mean, I think it's fair. Did your calendar figure itself out?
Oh, you know what? Let me check. It's had plenty of time, right? If it's gonna propagate, it should have by... Nope. Let me reboot my damn iPad, see if that helps. Because that's pretty freaking annoying. I suppose I could always Google that problem. iPad calendar stopped syncing or some shit like that.
I tried to, but the answers it was giving weren't ones that I liked. So...
Alright, iPad boot. I put a glass screen protector on my iPad, a tempered glass screen protector.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's alright, actually. I quite like it. I used the hinge method to get it lined up properly. So
Oh,
if
nice.
you ever order a screen protector for your iPad, a glass one, use the hinge. excuse me, the hinge method.
Yeah.
Anchor make a very good screen protector. Glass.
Yeah, that's what I've got on my phone.
Yes.
I was actually going to confer with you. Kurt asked me what screen protector to get for all of those SEs.
Mm-hmm. I would
And-
probably go with Oh, wait. These are for employees?
Yes. Oh, my iPad synced as well. Nice.
Does he want it to be super protective?
They're not going to spend a whole lot of money on it because they have literally a dozen of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the $10, the Anchor ones, they have one, but it's not the one that I got. That's kind of a challenge that I'm seeing with the SEs is that the phone is so new. There's not a bunch of stuff out for it yet.
Right.
But
We're going back on.
Okay.
All right, we're back. And my iPad calendar still has not synchronized over iCloud. This is annoying. And I have no idea how to fix this.
Did you turn off the calendar button and then turn it back on?
Yeah.
That's what I did, and that made mine work.
Yeah, I did. Let me, I'm going to turn it off again and try again. Calendar off. You know what? I'm going to leave it off for a little bit and see what happens. Turn it back on later. See what goes on. All right. What are we talking about? What you got? Because I'm looking at something untech related.
I didn't tell you this. So I read, the Galaxy Note 6 is going to be the next Samsung Note that's the one that's projected to come out next.
Mm-hmm.
I just read today that it's going to have a feature called Samsung Focus, which will be a screen that integrates the calendar, email, contacts, memos, and all of that kind of like what you have going on stuff, like the BlackBerry does. And similar, I think, to that pull-down screen that we have on the iPhone, that little notifications deal.
Yeah.
But I can't, and I've only been off a Samsung phone for like 5 days, but I don't think the Samsung until this had that. So that'll be an interesting, not upgrade, but addition to the Samsung lineup.
I don't know about Samsungs because I don't think I've ever owned one, but I know that other Android phones have had that. My HTC, for example, had it where you could pull down from the top and it would not only give you your notifications, but also have settings there for like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You could turn things on and off there.
It has settings there, yeah, but not. I don't think it had notifications. I don't know.
Strange.
If somebody's listening and they know, tell us, because I just can't remember. I have forgotten that already.
Another reason just to have an iPhone because it has freaking notifications.
But the Samsung would keep up with your calendar, so
the Today screen on your iPhone will as well. If you swipe down and then click on the Today tab and go to widgets and add.
I'm making fun of you because your calendar won't sync. That's what that was. I was a little jab there.
Okay, that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny stuff.
Right.
Yep. You know what? I guess I should open my notes and see what I have.
Yeah, we could
What
talk
do I
about
have?
drones. You and I have been chatting about drones off and on for a bit.
Yeah, go on. So you sent me a video earlier, a little thing Mountain Dew's putting out.
I did. Mountain Dew is sponsoring a new drone racing series. Mountain Dew was big into like the X Games and
Sure.
those
the
kind
extreme
of
sports type things.
Yeah. So their next sort of extreme sporting adventure is drones. So they're sponsoring this drone racing series with an organization called DR1 Racing. And they plan to host some of the best drone pilots in the world racing, like challenging each other.
Now, I take issue with that, by the way, because I've seen the Drone Racing League,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get me wrong, very, very good pilots, very talented people, but they're by far not the best pilots in the world. The
Oh,
best
really?
pilots, yeah, the best pilots in the world don't actually compete in the drone racing league. They compete in things like the World Drone Championships and the Drone Nationals and things like that, where they do not only racing, but they do like freestyle events and things like that.
Okay. Well, this one, there's a race. I just want to finish this up real quick, and then the first race will be in LA, and they'll be doing obstacles. A gauntlet is what they refer to it as, of environmental and man-made obstacles. So I don't know if that's anything like what you're talking about, or...
Yeah, probably. I mean, it probably is. It sounds like they're going to try to copy what's been going on
Okay.
all over the world.
Right.
But the races I've seen of the DRL have been like in indoor arenas, in stadiums, and they'll set up say a man-made course on the playing field, for example, but they will also have them flying down the player tunnels and through locker rooms and back out and things like
Right.
that. And it's all FPV. It's done with a head-mounted display, and they're looking through a camera on the front of the drone and flying it that way. I want a racing drone. I've wanted one for a while. One of the videos I sent you earlier where the police were trying to shoot, where it was an experiment to see if highly trained shooters could shoot down a racing drone.
Right.
The pilots in that video are actually all world champion pilots. One of them, Steele Davis, is from here in Georgia. He's from Alpharetta, and he works, or may not work there anymore, but he worked at a RC shop as a technician in Cumming, Georgia. And that's where I was planning to go to purchase my racing drone. However, it's a pretty damn expensive hobby to get into.
I would guess.
The drone I'm looking at buying is around $600. Then I have to add a receiver to it for the for the goggles, effectively. Then, which is $100. Then I have to buy the goggles, which is $300. Then a remote controller, which is at the very least $100, and then all the batteries you need, because these things are so freaking fast. They'll blast through a 1,300 mAh battery in like 3 or 4 minutes flat.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're pulling 70, 80 amps when they're flying at full whack. But they're amazing. I'll send you some videos later of some of the stunt work these guys do. It's mesmerizing because it's all from the camera
Right.
mounted on the front of the drone. It's all from that viewpoint. Absolutely mesmerizing. You can I'll lay there watching it and fall asleep.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. But they do some crazy stuff, man. The things they fly in amongst, it's unbelievable. Anyway.
Well, yeah, the video you sent me was pretty crazy.
Yeah, now that was just them having fun, obviously messing around. Let's see if
Yes.
let's see if they can shoot a drone out of the sky. Some of the videos they actually produce are very high quality. They'll mount a GoPro, high quality GoPro to their drone as well. So they'll fly FPV, but at the same time the GoPro's filming in high def, and it gets every movement that they do, every flip, every barrel roll, every pull out, every flying in obstacles, and unbelievable. But these guys go to some of the prettiest locations on Earth to fly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that I've ever seen. It's amazing. Yeah, I really do want a racing drone. I want to learn to fly it properly. They say it can take years to get very, very good at this.
Oh, I bet.
Still, that's in the future. I'm looking at least $1,500 to get into it, and that is,
Jesus.
yeah, that's a lot of money.
Is that just like ground level? That's like just the basics?
It's yeah, I mean, effectively, it would be, the drone would actually be quite a good one. My controller would be a very basic controller. My headset would be a good one. It would be up there, not the best, not the worst. Let's say middle of the road. So it would be, I would say it would be probably above average to get into it that way. But it's another one of those things where you get what you pay for. If you want it to be very responsive to your controls, then you have to pay for a decent bit of kit.
Right.
You know, I could go cheaper, but it would be far less responsive, and I would have more chance of crashing it if it doesn't respond to my actions. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, they're also quite sturdy, these racing drones. I've seen a lot of them smashed about, and it doesn't seem to harm them in many ways. So, I have virtually in fact, I think I have a tech story. Everything else I had was related to the e-cigs. Hulu and YouTube are supposedly going to start streaming live television next year. I'm sure it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a subscription. It's going to be for a fee. But I believe they're going to both start, it's reported that they're both going to start streaming live TV next year. So yet another option for cord cutters.
Huh.
And with Comcast upping their bandwidth limit to 1 terabyte for all of their users, maybe time to start looking at other options than cable and satellite.
Yeah, and with Twitter streaming or doing whatever they're doing with the Thursday night football, that'll be interesting to see if there become more options, more ways to watch local sporting events, or even just live sporting events without cable or some kind of dish.
Yep, and now with TiVo, with their over-the-air TiVo box that'll use a high-def antenna, even more options.
Right.
So now you're on an iPhone, and you just got a new iPad. Probably just outed you there.
Might have.
Yeah. Have you been using Apple Music? Have you started your free trial?
No.
You're still using just iTunes Match?
Yeah, and I use Pandora, but yeah, I've been using.
Why have you, just out of curiosity, how come you haven't turned on the Apple Music?
Because it's a pay service, isn't it?
The first 3 months are free.
Well, yeah, but then you get hooked on it. Then you got to pay for it.
Well, if you get hooked on it, sure. The reason I ask is because I wanted your opinion on the interface.
Okay, I'll try it. I had not even. I didn't make a conscious decision not to try it. I am happy with Pandora, and I listened to my.
Yeah, you don't have to. Obviously, I was just curious what you thought of the interface, because the interface of Apple Music has gained a lot of criticism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they first updated the iPod app to the new Music app, they redesigned the interface entirely, and then they integrated Apple Music into it, which puts all of the attention on Apple Music and takes all the attention away from your own music library collection. And I've gotten used to it, and I'm able to find what I want on Apple Music now.
Okay.
But it's very geared more towards Siri use than anything else. Like searching for something in Apple Music, I find it to be a complete pain in the ass. Tiny little search button, then you start typing, find what you want. Half the time, if I tell Siri to search for something and click on the search results, it doesn't work. I then have to back out, go back in and type in the search result manually to try and find it. Then it brings you to a section for that particular artist with, albums, some songs, top songs, playlists, and things like that. It could be better. Well, reports are they're going to refresh the interface completely. I'm not sure when or why, I know why, because it's gotten such criticism. I don't know when they're going to do it, but actually I do. It says they'll introduce the changes at WWDC in June.
Okay.
Here's my problem now. I've gotten used to the current interface. Right. And if they redo it completely and redesign it, then I'm going to be pissed and have to get used to another interface. And I'll be cussing Apple again. Like, what the hell, guys? What are you doing to me?
Not again, still. You cuss Apple all the time. Or, you know.
Well,
like a
you know what? Now my stupid calendar won't synchronize.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Yeah.
I had
I read an article today, which I think was actually probably nothing, but about Apple Music, people using Apple Music and their music being erased off of their hard drives.
mhm.
But I think it was just this dude that did it wrong. I think was
Yeah.
the gist of the story.
Yeah, well, I think there is some fault there on Apple's behalf as well, because if you have you have your music library,
Right.
then you can have iTunes Match, which uploads your music library into the cloud. Then there's Apple Music, which is, believe it or not, a separate service altogether. If you have so iTunes and Apple Music, the iTunes store, let's say, sells an Adele song. The very same Adele song on Apple Music is a different song. It's encoded differently, it has DRM protection and things like that. So anyway, here's where the problems were arising. And it confused the hell out of me when I did it, because I have iTunes, my library. I have iTunes Match, which is my library, my own personally owned library in the cloud. Then I turned on Apple Music. And the way Apple Music works, you can add Apple Music songs to your library. But when you do that, you're adding a DRM'd copy of that song to your library.
Okay.
I think where the error came is in the... So people were uploading their library to the cloud, to iTunes Match, and then deleting their local files, thinking I have a copy in the cloud, I'll always be able to get it. Then they turned on Apple Music, which also tries to match your music. Okay? Which it shouldn't. iTunes Match should be the matching service, and Apple Music should just purely be a streaming service. There should be no matching going on whatsoever. So anyway, it was matching, at this point, Apple Music to their library, and when they were deciding to download a new copy, they were downloading not their original copy, they were downloading the DRM protected Apple Music copy, and then when you end your subscription, you lose all access to that music, and it appears like all of your stuff has been deleted. Now, if you're lucky and your stuff is still in the cloud in iTunes Match, you can then go and re-download it from there. If you're even luckier and you have a backup of your computer, which you always should, you would just restore your backup and do it that way. But the problem was coming at the part where they're deleting their music from their computer.
Right.
You hit delete, and the message that comes up from Apple is very confusing.
Sort of oblique. Yeah. It's like 3 options, and it's
Yeah, so it makes it sound like you're going to keep your iTunes Match copy when you're not. It's actually going to delete your local copy, delete the iTunes Match copy, and only keep the Apple Music matched copy. So you've deleted your own individual copy of the music, and Apple have basically said, oh yeah, we'll keep a copy for you, without telling you it's going to be the DRM protected copy up in the cloud. So they need to rework those warnings.
Right. Which I think is kind of what the article said was, I mean, and this was, I kind of was skimming the article because I was going to send it to you, but then when I got to the point where it truly seemed like it was this one guy that just did it wrong, I really kind of stopped paying attention. But yeah, I think in his case, he misunderstood exactly what you said, misunderstood the warnings and the questions it was asking. And then I think he called Apple customer service, and the girl there didn't explain it well. And yeah, it just...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I ran into an issue myself. I had iTunes Match. I turned on Apple Music, which again matched my files. Then a bunch of my files appeared with this little cloud symbol next to them to download them. And I did. I downloaded them thinking, oh, it's going to download my matched music again. And it wasn't. It was downloading Apple Music. I can't remember if it was a duplicate of the music at that point, or whether it overwrote my. But either way, I ended up restoring my backup and starting from scratch. It was a disaster.
Oh wow, that's bad. I don't think I want to do. I don't want Apple Music.
Yeah, well, just don't. Here's how I fixed it in the end. I do not turn on Apple Music on my computer. I only have it turned on my phone and my iPad. I've kept my computer isolated from Apple Music and only enable iTunes Match there. We have a break when we get. Well, we'll be back.
Okay. Okay, so not doing it on your computer keeps that from happening?
Yes, yeah. That way, my actual base library on my computer is safe. I still have iTunes Match turned on, so my own personally owned music goes up into the cloud, so I can stream. Because Apple Music doesn't have every song, right? There are some songs in my library that's not on iTunes or Apple Music, so I then get to play it using iTunes Match. But everything else is in Apple Music. Most things are Apple Music.
Right.
But for example, that cover that Pink did of me and Bobby McGee, that's not on Apple Music, but I can still listen to it on my phone because it's up there now in iTunes Match.
Right. So we can talk about Facebook.
All right, let's do that. I'm going to use the restroom, though.
Okay. Shit. I just sent you a link from the Daily Caller. Facebook News curation czar, a huge Clinton donor.
Ah.
Are you getting sick?
No, I'm getting over it.
Oh. Awesome friend, I am. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I was sick last week on the show, but it was just a sore throat back then, so it didn't really test itself in any way.
Gotcha. I posted the link you said for people to go to on Tech Danielle.
Mhm.
So if you want to jump over and share that.
The Kazaa, yeah, I will admit.
Yes.
We're going live. All right, we're back. All right, so talk about Facebook, Danielle.
Okay. Well, Facebook is in some hot water. I think we have talked about this before, Al, about Facebook censoring the news articles or the information that that comes up and appears in people's news feeds. There are allegations that they manipulate what comes up in people's news feeds to keep conservative news from posting. And there is a Senate committee that just formed today looking into Facebook news filtering methods. This committee wants to know about the news curation methods and policies that Facebook is using and how Facebook is investigating allegations of like them manipulating their news, like the news that appears in people's news feeds. So it's drawing some attention.
Yeah, Stephen Crowder of Louder with Crowder, he filed a motion against Facebook today for this reason, because he's a paying customer of Facebook. He pays for his stories to be promoted, which should get them into the trending topics. And he's faced a lot of billing issues and things like that, which he thinks are being done on purpose to try to break their contract and suppress his information. So he filed a motion against them today for for information or something.
Okay.
It says, in light of the recent allegations brought to our attention by Michael Nunez and Gizmodo.com, Stephen Crowder is taking steps to determine what, if any, legal action is necessary to address the assertions that he has been targeted by Facebook for suppression due to his conservative political commentary. I'm not sure what he'll find out, because a Facebook, you may have just said this, I wasn't listening to you, but a Facebook spokesman came out today, and I didn't hear a denial in his statement. All I heard him say is that it's not our policy to curate the trending topics. So he didn't say it's not happening. He just said it's not company policy. Our staff aren't trained that way. Right. So let's assume it's just rogue members of staff, right? Some lefties that don't want a conservative viewpoint put out there. We see it every day. We see it from these social justice warriors every single day, where they don't want to listen to you. They just want to scream you down and drown you out, because apparently they're afraid of opinion these days. It hurts them. It's a trigger warning. And then they have to run off to their fucking little safe space and, I don't know, eat donuts or whatever the hell it is they do. So if it's people like that, it's going to be very difficult to prove. Facebook are going to have to start monitoring their employees to see if they are committing these acts. But I don't see Facebook ever doing that. They're just going to say, this isn't our policy. This isn't what we tell people to do. They're not trained to do this.
Well, they have until May 24th to answer the congressional or the Senate committee. They have until the 24th to provide information, and they're also supposed to make their staff available for questions to the Senate committee. So, which might or might not turn into anything depending on who's on the Senate committee.
Yeah. Now, it was former employees that blew the whistle on this, right?
Yes.
Former employees, I guess, went to, I suppose it was Gizmodo, went to Gizmodo and said, hey, this is what's happening.
I believe so, yes.
It's going to be awful hard to prove.
Yeah, I missed how is it going to be hard to prove if you can look back and see what they're reporting? I mean, you can see a trend in what is and isn't getting reported. There are also allegations in that that Facebook refuses to deny that it blacklisted conservatives. That article, I don't know if you read that one, but that one talks about how the former employees that came forward said that they're completely overriding the algorithms that should be dictating what's showing up in people's news feeds and just interjecting articles. And that Black Lives Matters articles were one of the ones that were showing up in news feeds where they shouldn't have been. I mean, not that subject, like that topic is here or there, it doesn't matter, but that's just one that was mentioned that was being interjected.
Even if Facebook keep a timeline of that, do you think they would ever produce it?
Well, we have talked about Facebook encrypting.
And
that would be a fantastic time.
Yeah.
For them to start end-to-end encryption and say, we can't produce, we don't know. We can't get to it. Well, but I don't know.
Because, I mean, trending topics, I believe, aren't they based on the user also? For example, my trending topic should look different to yours, theoretically,
yes.
correct?
Yep. Yes.
So even if all Facebook could possibly produce would be a list of every topic that's ever trended, but they won't be able to tell you, I don't think, whose computer it trended on and when.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, to me, what the Senate committee is looking for is the weak link. They're going to start interviewing, if they're going to do anything, start interviewing employees and see if they can find somebody to tell them something. Yeah,
it's kind of a fishing expedition, is what it is. Because apparently they have fuck all else to do up in Washington. Right. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, I don't...
HR 2058 out there on the table, which would move the predicate date for vaping and actually save some lives.
Right.
And they're going to have a congressional hearing over whether Facebook is censoring trending topics.
Right.
Now, I don't agree with Facebook doing this, but they're a private company.
Right.
It's no different from the newspaper deciding what it's going to publish, surely. Maybe I'll ask Stephen Crowder that, see if he has a response to that. But, I mean, an editor chooses what goes into a newspaper. Shouldn't Facebook, theoretically, as a private company, be able to choose what content they display?
I think so. And I was really kind of curious as to why this is such a big deal, but I didn't know if I was being a little lefty. Now,
I can see if you're paying, like Stephen Crowder is.
Right.
I can see if you're paying to have your content promoted so that it starts trending.
Then isn't that simply a breach of contract?
Yeah, I mean, that's all it would be, right? And he's going to have to prove it.
Right.
Because I don't believe Facebook are going to produce any data for him. They're going to say, we can't produce data off of individual computers.
Right.
We don't have access to it. We don't know. Because my trending sidebar is going to look completely different to yours. Right. Yours is going to be all kittens and fluffy shit. Mine's going to be guns and bikinis.
Yeah, and yours is guns and naked girls. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly.
No question. Yeah. You're laughing.
And Stephen Crowder.
True, but that's totally true.
Yeah, and Stephen Crowder's probably in mine.
Yeah. Or he should be, but he's not because Facebook's blocking him.
I never use a computer, so it's hard to tell. And the app, the iPhone app, I don't think.
Are you using the iPhone app? I thought we were forbidden to use that.
They fixed that battery life issue, I think. Well, I have both. Don't get me wrong. I have the app on here, but I also have my well, you can't see that, but that's my web interface, which I will use most of the time. Here's the problem, though. I'm using Google Photos now, right?
Okay.
In order to use Google Photos and upload a photo to Facebook, I have to use the built-in iPhone share sheet, which requires me to have the Facebook app loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Okay, so we are using it now, then, is what you're telling me?
You can use it on the iPhone. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, your battery life will take a hit, but you can
Okay.
use whatever you want.
Do you
Seriously.
remember your like show long rant about the Facebook app?
Yeah, because it was shit, but they fixed some of that stuff.
And it didn't occur to you to share that with people?
No.
Okay, let's make a new rule on the show that after we rant and carry on about something, if it gets fixed, let's share it with people that it's been fixed. Do you want to? I mean, let's just try to make that a policy.
All right. Fair
Okay.
enough.
Just, yeah. All right, cool. And while we're making policies, let's make a policy that when we recommend a show to somebody, if things die pretty regularly in the episodes, let's warn them.
They don't die on a regular basis.
Dude, I have not gone 3 episodes of that show without crying.
We're talking about Derek on it's Ricky Gervais's show on it's actually on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really? I know Ivor the dog died.
I almost unfriended you in real life. Not even just Facebook unfriended you. I almost texted you and said, we're not friends anymore.
Because a TV dog died?
Because it was the saddest thing. Because a retarded guy's TV dog died. The little sausage tail. That's my best thing ever.
Yeah. But then 5 minutes later, Kev pulls at your
Yeah.
heartstrings. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Kev will always cheer you up.
Yeah. Then Kev's brother. Yeah.
I
Let's
love
not
that
ruin
show.
it for people. It's a
It's a good
fantastic show. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up. I'm out of stories.
Wait, do I have anything else? Oh, I have a couple things. So,
Go on.
well, these were going to be like the 30-second go into break things, except you screwed up all the breaks today. Durex, the condom people, want the texting people to make a condom emoji, which I think is brilliant. I would just paper my. You're not listening to me.
A condom emoji?
Yeah, I think that's funny. To have a condom emoji for safe sexting.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Isn't that funny? But yeah, they say that it will empower people to talk openly about protection, noting that communication is vital to preventing. This is interesting. They said STI, which I'm assuming is sexually transmitted infection instead of sexually transmitted disease, because it used to be STDs. I don't know. STI, HIV, and AIDS. And you will actually be interested in this, so listen to me. Orange is the New Black, season 4 is fixing to come out. Do you know this already?
No, I haven't even finished watching season 3 yet.
Well, you
I
best-
started watching it and got to like episode 5, and then my attention, well, it was an ooh shiny, and I
Right.
moved on to a different show and haven't been back to Orange is the New Black yet.
It's been a while it's been out. June 17th. Season 4. Well, since you haven't, I'm glad that you said you haven't finished it, because I was going to say something about season 4, which I guess is kind of a spoiler from the end of season 3, so I won't say anything.
Yeah, don't be spoiling it.
But, well,
Ooh, I'll finish watching it then.
okay. I mean, it's no big deal. But, yeah, so season 4 of Orange is the New Black, June 17th.
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah. So the rest of that story is dead.
Very
now,
cool,
like-
because I do like that show a
Yeah.
lot. It's a good show. I just haven't. I can't remember what I started watching, and I started watching something, got into that, then moved on to
Yeah.
something else, forgot
Yeah.
completely about the other show.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's much less girl-on-girl action in it now than there used to be.
yeah,
Have you noticed that?
yep, yeah. They've
Yeah.
moved on to that interpersonal relationship bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. What's up with that?
Mm,
So,
I don't know. Ruined
Right.
that show. Feelings ruin everything.
right? Like, it's a girl show. Why would a show about chicks in prison be a girl show?
Right.
Like, that guy written all over it.
I know, right? I mean, it makes no damn sense whatsoever. Still, what you gonna do?
Yeah, interpersonal relationships and
Yeah.
girlfriends and
But I will.
whatever.
Let me turn my calendar back on, see what fucking happens this time. I'm about to sign out of iCloud completely and see if maybe that fixes it.
Yeah. We
This
didn't
is
talk about the
killing me.
iPad Pro either.
The one you just bought?
That one, yeah.
Let's save that till next week.
I mean,
It'll give you time to
so
give you time to work with it and have some fun
decide
with it and figure out how it fits into your
that it is truly a useless purchase.
Yeah, see how it fits into your workflow, so to speak.
Yeah.
And how that side-by-side multitasking works. Because if the only reason for me to upgrade my iPad would be for that specifically, that feature.
Yeah.
That side-by-side business, because I can really, my iPad is a complete replacement for a laptop. And I think that side-by-side stuff would really benefit me. But I don't know if it would benefit me enough.
Right.
So I will count on you. I'm going to count on you to let me know whether I should...
no pressure, though. No pressure.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
No.
All right, let's finish this up. We got a couple of minutes. Word according to Mike tomorrow. He was off last week. He has said he will have a show tomorrow, so that's good. Tune into that. It's always a good conversation. The Rough Edge Thursday with Jacob from Tulsa. He's running his own show. That's a legs joke.
Dude, no.
Okay.
I'm gonna delete that from my brain.
The morning show, obviously every day this week, and latest talk on Mondays. There's some stuff going on this weekend. I don't know what it is. Something's going on Friday. Just for fun. No, I mean just for fun. There's something happening Friday at a place called Mystic something or other, Mystic Grill possibly. I really should look into that and find out what it is. Because
I mean, you might could have done it before the show so you could talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to Scott either before the show, and I've been swamped at work, so our conversations have been few and far between. You're
just about useless at this point.
Yeah. I have a debate on Thursday, the NAACP debate. I'm not taking part in that, by the way. I'm just going there to as a citizen. I will actually be there supporting Sheriff Levitt. He's in the debate.
Cool.
Saturday, I'll be again on the panel at the Rockdale GOP debates. It's all your Republican candidates, so all you Republican listeners, if you have questions for the candidates, I will post a link again for the form where you can submit questions, or you can send them to me, or better yet, come to the debate and ask for yourself. Come and meet your your state Republican leadership, I suppose. Saturday, that's the Rockdale GOP thing. Early voting is going on, so don't forget to go out to the polls and vote. And remember, all Republicans, go vote in the Democratic primary. Pick your candidates. Have a say in your county's leadership, because the Republican ballot is empty, other than Thomas Chastain, and he will still be on the ballot come November. So go vote in the Democratic ballot. Have your voice heard. Obviously, I would say vote for Sheriff Levitt, the moderate Democrat, rather than his opponent, the radical civil rights abuser.
Can we pimp the tickets on the show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're doing a fundraiser, a raffle fundraiser, $5 a ticket. There is a 50-inch television, a PlayStation 4, an iPad Mini, some one-day free slingshot rentals. What else is there? There's gift cards. Yeah. Anyway, all kind of stuff up for raffle. Tickets are $5 a piece. It's a fundraiser for the sheriff's campaign. If you're interested, just hit me up on Facebook. I have, I think, 10 or so tickets left, but there's plenty available if people need more. So yeah, let me know. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Go to
I'm Xander Mack on Twitter, and something else on Instagram, and your tech Danielle on the Twitter and on the Facebook.
Same on the Facebook. You and I will both put up the link. Is it Kazaa you said to go to? We're going to put up that link.
Yeah, I'll put up a link to Kazaa to support House Resolution 2058 to move the predicate date for vaping. I will put up a link to the online question survey thing for the GOP debate or forum, whatever it's called. It's not really a debate, as it's just Republican candidates. But it's your opportunity to come and ask questions and get them answered, and have a Q&A with your legislators.
Will the upcoming debates be streamed at all? Do you know?
This one's not. No, neither of these will be.
Okay.
They should be, but I don't think anyone ever set it up. So no, maybe I'll flip on my phone and stream it straight to YouTube or something. We'll see.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Periscope it or something. All right.
yeah,
Let's get out of here.
yeah, or go live to Facebook. I mean, there's so many options these days. Could do any of them. Dan, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Everybody listening, thank you. Everybody on YouTube, thank you. Give us a like or a thumbs up, whatever the hell it's called.
Thank your guests.
And we'll be back. Oh, yeah, thank you, of course, to Mayor Ted Terry and to Guy for calling in. Excuse me, Guy Bentley for calling in. Great conversations and very informative with both of them. And I tell you, a lot of legislatures could take a page out of Ted Terry's book and be as open-minded when it comes to something like this. And I hope everybody on Twitter goes and says thank you to him as well, because it was a lot of lawmakers dodge this issue and try to hide from it, and he faced it head on, and I think he's going to try to do what's best for both vapers and the rest of the community. So kudos to him for doing what I think is the right thing. And go look up Guy on the Daily Caller. I'm a big fan of his now. Big fan of Guy.
Yeah, he's good. And the Daily Caller is good.
It is. It has a conservative slant to it. It's a little bit. There's a little bit right leaning, but that's obviously right up my alley. But some great news and very, very well written. Some great journalists working for them.
Yes. Very well written.
Yeah. There's obviously conservative slant, but it's not biased. You can tell there's no real bias there, and which is rare in this day and age of journalism. Anyway, I'm going to get in touch with Guy and find out, have him hook me up with a gig with the Daily Caller. That's what I'm going to do.
Dude, you have a job. You have a gig.
I do. I have a job and a gig. All right. Well, that's it. We're done. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Talk out.
And YouTube, thank you. Where's my cursor? There it is. Thanks a lot. We will see you next week. Give us a thumbs up, a like, share, whatever it is. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Night, YouTube.